This is Pack Your Knives. I'm Tom Haberstroh, and I am joined today with a very special in-person episode of Pack Your Knives with two-time Top Chef contestant Eric Adjepong. Dude, what's going on, my man?
Man, this is awesome. This is a really cool spot to be in. I'm extremely excited. A lot of great things to announce, but yeah, I'll let you go after it, man. This is cool, sir.
Yeah, lots to talk about today. You'll probably, if you're watching, if you're listening, Kevin is not here right now. That's because I do have an update on the show. Kevin, this summer, reached out to me and let me know that he's stepping away from Pack Your Knives, which is obviously a very sad thing for me personally. Kevin and I have been doing this for 7 years, 7 shows, and I could not believe that we even got past 1 year, just because, like, you know, when you come up with an idea, you never realize, like, you know, if it's ever going to make it past one season. You know the feeling.
Very much so, yeah.
And so that's my guy, and has always been my guy, who's my friend before he was a co-host with me, and he'll always be a friend and will come onto the show. I promise you that. He will come onto the show and swing by. And we're going to miss him. Definitely. At Pack Your Knives. And, you know, I think I'm in debt to Kevin in like a personal and professional level, is just all the times that we ate meals together, watched Top Chef, hundreds of hours of taping the show. So I want to thank him. I thanked him personally, but also just on the show. Just want to make sure I put my 2 cents there. And we're going to put that Top Chef Pack Your Knives coat, that chef coat, up in the rafters for him. But it left me with like a real, you know, question is, who do I replace Kevin with? And that was really hard for me. It's hard to envision Pack Your Knives without him, just in the same way that envisioning Top Chef without Padma was really hard to do. And Top Chef almost gave me like a blueprint for me. It's like, as I was thinking about it, Eric, I was like, you know, I don't think I can replace Kevin. Like, there's no other Kevin. In the same way that there's no other Padma Lakshmi,
sure,
host of Top Chef. And what they did was they were like, you know what? Let's bring in Kristen, who is actually a different host in the sense that she's been in those shoes. She's been in that kitchen as a competitor on Top Chef, and she's been a host of her own. And I started thinking, the wheels were turning, and I was thinking like, oh, Padma is Kevin, so who is my Kristen? So I have a big announcement to make. 2-time chef contestant on Top Chef, 2-time host of Food Network TV shows, Wildcard Kitchen and Alex vs. America, 2-time author, the Sankofa children's book, and of course, your new cookbook, Ghana to the World.
Sure.
You are a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful face, handsome, of the Crate and Barrel line, the kitchenware line, and a huge super fan of the New York Knicks. Welcome to Pack Your Knives. You are the new co-host of Pack Your Knives. I'm so excited, dude.
I'm waiting for, like, I'm listening to the crowd cheer and all that, man. I got to echo, if I can as well, a massive shout out to Kevin, man. What a brilliant man. I am so impressed by him with his knowledge, obviously, about sports and everything else, life, food as well, so in depth. I remember the first time talking to him and has slowly become a friend as well through the years, and just really enthralled with everything that he has to say. I've obviously done Pack Your Knives as well, a couple episodes, and really enjoyed those conversations. So big shoes to fill, for sure. But to your point, man, I think it's a really cool avenue to kind of switch things up, and having that experience of being on the show a couple of times. I know the rigor, I know you know, all the stuff that these contestants are going through each and every episode. When you called me out and first pitched the idea to do this, extremely flattered, bro, extremely flattered, because I'm a massive fan of yours as well, and you know that. So it was a no-brainer in the midst of everything else that's going on in my life. But bro, man, it was great, man.
I buried the lead, like, among all the accolades that I gave for you and like all the things that you're doing, I missed the big one, which is you're opening up a restaurant.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before. This summer, you kind of hinted that like you got this big project in the works and all this when we talked in August. And in October, you announced that officially that you're opening up a restaurant in DC.
Sir.
And I was like, that was the thing, honestly, like, to be real. I was like, yo, I'm going to ask Eric. Like, that's my guy. I want him to be the host, because not only are you, you know, a former contestant on Top Chef 2 times, not only have you been on camera, but you are a huge sports fan too. That we can have these kind of analogies or references to the NBA because your New York Knicks are, you know, they're back. You know, they got Karl-Anthony Towns, and I didn't quite understand until we started hopping on the show and texting how much you speak the same language of what Kevin and I built. Is just like, we're drafting chef testants, 100%. We're going to make sports analogies and stuff. And so I love that idea, but I also was like, man, he's opening up a restaurant. This is crazy. So tell us about the restaurant first.
Yeah.
And tell us like how that's going, because Kevin and I have never done that.
Yeah.
And you've never done it yourself for your own restaurant. So how's that going?
Man, it's a process, and I'm learning on the fly. You know, this is the very first restaurant. It's my baby, the very first of my own, but my fourth opening in general. And I was mentioning to you earlier before we started recording, there's almost like a glass ceiling, or, you know, there's certain information or things that you don't see behind the curtain when you are sort of second in command, third in command when you're opening up a restaurant. But now that it's all mine, I'm learning how like the sausage is being made truly, and it's a lot of work, man. There's permitting, there's certifications, there's inspections, there's all these things that truly, like, it's not in my wheelhouse, man. I make food. Like,
well, what we know is it's Elmina, and it's West African, or is it just specifically Ghanaian food?
Yeah, so Elmina, Elmina is the name of the restaurant. Ghanaian food, Ghanaian food is really the theme, but giving a really love to the West African like region and diaspora in large, man. And yeah, it means the gold mine, it's treasure, and really this is what I wanted to celebrate, not only the food, which is absolutely amazing, a biased answer, but like the culture, the music, the clothing, the way the hospitality is given. This is something I want to be like full force in Elmina, and I'm just so excited, man. Really thrilled to just serve the people out in DC with it.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that. It's, you know, it's something that I think as a chef testing on Top Chef, you always have had this like, you almost have this conscience about your cooking.
Yeah.
That it's not just about healthy, nutritional, all that, which you've studied and wanted to do better in the community about, like, you know, getting fresh food, fresh produce, and making sure children are being well fed, and nutritious food are part of their natural diet. But also you have a conscience with like the heritage that you're drawing upon, because I think one of the coolest things I've been thinking about you, I think you're the first chef testant to really bring West African cuisine, or just African cuisine, at the forefront.
Yeah.
In 16 years.
16 seasons. And that was really my kind of like point of reference, man. Like, watching the show, I was still am a massive fan of Top Chef. When I started watching it was like season 3. And still to this day, I say biasly, season 16 is one of my favorites. Obviously, I was on it, but season 6 was really like the creme. That was like, that's it for me. That was a pinnacle.
That's the GOAT. That's the GOAT season.
That's the GOAT season. It really was, man.
And then you had to go against those dudes and Jen in season 17, All-Star.
So like your idols become your rivals immediately. Like, dude, it was one of those, and still today, like, it's pretty wild to think about. But you're exactly right, man. Like, I knew if I had the opportunity to be on the show, and it was a very, you know, amazing opportunity, why not celebrate the food of my culture, celebrate the food that I grew up eating, and if I can figure out a way to kind of finagle it in each and every challenge, I'm gonna do it, you know. And it worked out, man. I did all right that season. Yeah, you did.
You made it to the finale, and you were there with Sarah and Kelsey in season 16, Kentucky, which is close to my home in the sense that my wife is from Louisville, and so like I'm watching that season. I fell in love with you and the rest of the guys, and the ladies there were just like, I mean, the food, the cooking, everything was crazy. It was great. That was a juggernaut season. We'll talk more about that in a second. But before we do that, Kevin and I, as the listeners know, before we start every episode, and we've done it with you too, we'll say a question based on the episode that we just watched. You know, what's the best finger food at a football game,
right,
like tailgate or whatever it is. So I've got two things here, two options for you. I'll call it chef's choice. I'm going to give you two options, and you have to tell me which one's better or which one you like better.
Cool. All right.
And I got a whole list of them here to have the people kind of know you a little bit more.
Let's do it.
Ketchup or mustard?
Oh, Jesus. Mustard.
Mustard. This is the ones and the twos, right, Trey? Ones and the twos. Trey does this segment. Did this segment back in the day.
Twos. All right, cool.
Ones and the twos. Salt and pepper.
Salt or pepper?
Salt or pepper.
You got to go salt. 100%.
Shake Shack or In-N-Out?
That's not even a question. It's Shake Shack. I don't even know why you asked me that.
Neither.
Dude, what?
All right. On that same level, Biggie or Jay-Z?
Oh, man. Nostalgically, I got to go with Biggie, but just as far as just the discography, it's got to be Jay-Z.
Jay-Z.
Yeah, he's got the tenure, of course. Yeah.
Aisle or window?
Give me a window.
Window.
Easy. Yeah, give me a window.
Dude, you're 6'3".
That's fair. I can lay my head.
You can knock out.
I'm knocking out. The aisle is just, you got people bumping your head, like your leg,
Yep.
and then the stewardess are coming with the cart, and it's just, to your point, 6'3". It's not cute. So give me the window.
Rice or pasta?
Rice. I'll just not even cut you. It's just, dude, rice. That's the
Ghanaian jollof or Nigerian?
Oh man, why are you doing this to yourself?
Because I want you to push.
All right, you know what? Yes, I understand. I understand the objective of this exercise, but you and I both know the answer is Ghanaian food. It's Ghanaian jollof, 100%.
Why?
Not only is the best. You know how Jordan didn't create the jump shot, the fadeaway, but he essentially perfected it.
Yeah.
You know, jollof rice comes from Senegal, from the Wolof tribe. They obviously created it, but then, you know, when it hit the borders of Ghana, that's when it really, you know, it was perfected. So it's literally stamped. My mom makes the best jollof, so like, you know, I learned from the best, and that's what it is.
You mentioned Michael.
Yes, sir.
MJ or LeBron?
MJ.
Okay.
Yeah.
Born in New York, by the way.
Born in New York, Brooklyn, New York.
The Wire or Sopranos? I'm coming in with heat, dude.
You are. I got to go Sopranos, man. Yeah, I got to go Sopranos. The Wire is fantastic. The only reason I won't go The Wire is that season 2, the docs. Was it season 2?
Yeah, they went back to the docks with the Sabakas.
That was a drag. That was like a drag for me.
Well, the first season was all about the drug trade in the corners,
right.
and then they were like, all right, we got to show how the drugs come in and show the blue collar dudes on the dock and how that all comes in. But I can see if you were hooked on The Wire season 1, season 2 was like, yo,
it's a lull. Yeah, you really feel disappointed. I don't think I ever felt that sort of like disappointment with The Sopranos. Every season was fantastic.
It brought it.
Every season.
So do you have a personal ranking of The Wire? So like first season, second season of the 5. My personal favorite's number 4, season 4 with the
I'm
kids.
with you. 4, I'd say 4, 1, 5, 3, 2.
Yeah, I would go 3 a little bit higher than that.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I go 4, 1, 3,
5, 2.
5, 2.
Okay.
And as like someone who works in the media, like in newsrooms before, like 5 just hit me a little weird.
Sure.
And we'll talk about The Bear later because I want to hear your thoughts, refresh thoughts after we talked about it recently.
Yeah, man.
Last 2 here: blind taste test or mise en place race.
Wait, am I judging or am I doing it?
Okay, you're doing it.
I'm doing it.
You're doing
mise
it.
en place. There's not a lot of people with faster knives than me. Yeah, mise en place all day.
All day.
I'll take the Pepsi challenge.
Did you guys have a mise en place in 16 or 17?
They should have. They should have.
What is your if there were the Olympics of field events in mise en place? Like, what is your mise en place that you'll just like nobody can touch you?
You know what? There's maybe like real talk, like 3 chefs that I know can prep faster than me. Kenny Gilbert out in Florida,
Yep.
He's a beast. That guy is like prep master king. Rich Blaze, like I said, Blaze too, and then. Yeah, funny enough, Kristen, she's fantastic with prep. She was a beast as well. So,
is there a particular like avocado?
You know the tough one that
onion,
they'll throw in.
Onions, just like
onions are standard. They'll throw in like an artichoke to just like really trip you up, and that's tough. If you don't know where you're an artichoke, that can take you quite literally all day.
Artichokes are like, you think lobsters are tough to get through? Like, I feel like artichokes are the most labor-intensive vegetable.
It really is.
Because
it really is.
And if you don't do it right, like you got hair in your mouth.
It's literally the choke inside the artichoke that can choke you up. But then also it's just like, And you know, too, man, dude, there's Tom Colicchio literally standing right in front of you. The man has a restaurant called Kraft. There's nothing that you can pull under his eye. Like, there's no wool you can pull under his eyes. So if it's not like skinned perfectly, it's not sitting in lemon water, if it's not like the choke is fully out, you're doing it all over again. So like that's added pressure. Dude, it was wild.
Okay, Michelin star or Knicks championship?
Oh, that's not fair. It was the last one.
You get a Michelin star for Elmina.
Jesus.
Elmina gets a Michelin star, or the Knicks win a championship. You can think about it.
I'm going to come back to you, man.
Oh, stop it.
Fudge. Give me the Knicks championship. Give me the Knicks championship. Yeah, give me the Knicks. I love the Knicks, man. Like, and it's been passed down from my dad to me. The Michelin star, fudge, man, that's tough. God, that's a good one. That's a good one. You say that for last, but
yep,
I got to go team sport, man. I got to go the Knicks. Yeah,
man. It's like, is there an award?
Yeah.
For, because in the NBA, it's a little bit of the same. Is like you have the title. You have the title, but you could also win an MVP.
Sure.
Or you could be the #1 overall pick.
Totally.
Or you could be, an all-star. All these accolades have different kind of equity within the game. And for a team, I think some people would say, I want to be the #1 overall pick. Like, I want to be the guy. Yeah. I want to be Tim Duncan. I want to be Andrew Wiggins. I want to be the #1 overall pick. In the same way, I think, like, Top Chef, you want to win Top Chef for sure.
Sure.
But in many ways, that's just the beginning of your journey.
Right.
So if you're the #1 overall pick, yeah, that's an accomplishment, and you're competitive, you want to be the guy.
Right.
But in many ways in the NBA, your work is just getting started. In the same way that I think if you win Top Chef, that's great. It shows you got promise, and you're here, you have arrived.
Right.
But there's so much more work that gets involved when you become Top Chef.
Yeah.
And I think like a James Beard Award winner, would you say as a chef you would rather have a James Beard or a Michelin star? Feels like Michelin stars are harder to come by.
Michelin stars are harder to come by.
It's different.
It's different. Michelin star it's on an international level. James Beard is on an American level. Both amazing accolade to earn and to receive and to kind of be recognized by your peers by. But when you have a Michelin, man, you cannot take that away. That's just like the gold star of the gold stars. So, and then also to me, a Michelin is like a team, sort of like why I went with the Knicks. It's a group collaborative sort of like effort. If I get a Michelin star, if my restaurant gets a Michelin star, then I know for sure that all hands were on deck. The GM is on his game. The sous chef is on her game. You know what I mean? Like everybody's doing what they need to do versus me getting a James Beard for best chef and it's really just like all eyes on me.
So in that way, a Michelin star is almost like getting a ring or a championship. The banners fly forever. You're always going to have that, and your team collaborated to get that. What about opening up your own restaurant on that whole, like, I guess it would be you're the MVP or you're the finals MVP where you're the guy. Like you are the guy.
I think personally, man, there's like selfish reasons to kind of be boastful and proud about it, and that's an amazing thing. But truth be told, bro, like I'm excited to build the camaraderie with the team. I'm excited to bring the right people in. I'm excited to like see their future grow within the space that I'm kind of like fostering in Elmina. So the hospitality really begins with me, with my employees, and then hopefully that translates to the guest experience as well. But like if I'm doing what I need to be doing as a head chef and providing an atmosphere where people can feel safe, have fun, learn, and grow, then that to me, and then if we get recognized for it, that's it. That's the gold star right there. Yeah. But really, honestly, man, those are the objectives. Everything else is just like cake. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, as long as we're doing what we need to be doing, I'm happy.
All right. So the nerves are high right now because of opening up your restaurant.
Yeah, man.
Where does it compare to leaving to go to Kentucky? Where does it rank leaving to go to LA to compete on Top Chef? Because it's different kind of butterflies, right? 100%. A different kind of like, I don't know what I'm getting into.
Right.
So which one would you say was harder, going to Kentucky or going to LA?
Kentucky or LA? I'd say LA is harder because I truly knew, well, I have a year of experience with the previous season under my belt. but then also know that like I'm heading into an all-star. So like, it's like the lion's den of the lion's den, bro. And
Here's the roster of the Lions.
Yeah.
Listen to this. All right. Melissa King.
Yikes.
Brian Voltaggio.
Yikes.
Stephanie Seymour. Kevin Gillespie. Gregory Gourdet.
GG.
Malarkey.
Yep.
Karen Akunowitz.
Oh, I love her.
Leanne Wong.
Yep.
Nene Wynn.
Nene Wynn.
Jen Carroll.
Yep. JC.
Lisa Fernandez. Jamie Lynch. Angel Sosa, and of course Joe Sasto, who was last in that season, but somehow I could have seen him winning the whole damn thing.
Man, that's the crapshoot about the show itself, because like you can roll the dice on any season, and truly you might get a different winner in every like chance. But when it's an all-star season, you have 15 different all-stars. So the first person that goes could have won quite literally the entire thing. So it's no like shame, man. Sasto went out with his head held high, and to your point earlier, like probably out of all that 15 probably took advantage, the smallest time that he took advantage of it amazingly, because now he's doing so much. He's got products on different shelves in supermarkets. His face is literally everywhere you can see on social media. He's all over my television. And he took advantage of that small window, because dude is nasty, man. If you ever see Joe Sasto cook, like he is a savant, really. He really is. Yeah.
I ate at his restaurant when he was, it was over, was it Beverly Hills? Where was it? Where I went there and ate his pasta.
Yeah.
And watching him in the kitchen was awesome. And I had such a good time there. The meal was unbelievable. But like, I think that's why I love Top Chef so much, is there's this dynamic of like, you can watch it and then go eat the food.
Yeah.
Which is unlike other TV shows or other reality or other competitions where like, it's similar to the NBA where like you can be a huge fan of the Knicks and then you can go to the Garden and watch them.
Go to the Garden and watch.
And it adds a different dynamic. Whereas like, I think like Real Housewives or any other like Survivor, like there's no added layer of like, I watched that religiously for a year.
Yeah.
And now I get to go
experience. I'd even go deeper. I'd say it's probably like, to that analogy, you can be a fan of the Knicks, you can go to the game, but Jalen Brunson's not passing you the ball to shoot the three. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But you can go to a restaurant and you can literally get served by Sasto. You know what I mean? And that right there is like a connection. It's almost better than smell-o-vision. Like you almost like, you wish that with watching these like food shows, like, man, I really wish I could taste that. I really wish I could smell exactly what the judges are. But then, when these chefs are doing their tours or you can go to the restaurant, it's right there.
So season 16.
Yeah.
Kentucky. It's Kelsey, Sarah, Michelle Minori. Adrian Wright, Justin Sutherland, Eddie Conrad, David Viana, Brian Young, Caitlin Steininger, now together, right?
Yeah.
Brother Luck, Nene again, Pablo, Kevin Sharf, and Natalie, who I think won the first episode.
Yes.
First competition challenge,
yes.
And then was eliminated like the next week.
One, yeah. And talk about set the tone, right? Because whoever wins the first one, no one knows each other, right? Unless it was Sarah and Kelsey knew each other. That was the only like two. But for the most part, everyone's coming in fresh from different parts of the world, different parts of the country into Kentucky. And we're sizing each other up, so to speak. So the first person who wins that challenge as you're being sized up by the other people is kind of like, you got your, subconsciously, all right, I'm going to keep my eye on her.
Yep.
And then she gets eliminated. And then you really understand that this is a real game. Like anybody can go at any moment. So you got to be on your P's and Q's. And I remember David Vienna he had a little streak right after that. I think he won like 3 or 4 in a row. And then he became the new kid on the block. Like, oh, dude, like everyone was watching out for David. And then really like, I say the cream rises to the crop, but truly, there's certain things, I always say it comes in thirds with Top Chef. A third are going to be at the end via merit. A third are going to eliminate themselves just because they get in their own head. Mm-hmm. And then another third is just going to by happenstance of what happens with the challenge, your food falls or, you run out of a product in Whole Foods, right? You can't find exactly what you wanted. And then that sort of kind of eliminates you as well. So it's a crapshoot, man, each and every challenge, but it was impressive, man. And I think I went on a little streak as well. And it's really about getting hot at the right time, honestly. Yeah.
It's a lot like basketball, a tournament, 100%. Or in football in the NFL, like Pat Mahomes is always going to be there at the end.
It's always going to be, these players, who's going to be there.
But you got to hit at the right time.
You got to hit it at the right time, man.
Stay healthy. That was the thing in 17 with you was, I think what you described to Kevin and I on the show was, I think you didn't sleep or you're just so tired. It was an exhaustion thing. Not that everyone else wasn't exhausted, but I remember asking you, like, Eric, you look like you were exhausted on the screen.
I was, man.
And
me and Nene were the most tired because we were just coming off of season 16. And in between the end of season 16 and the start of 17 was maybe about 3 months, if that. So if you imagine, I made it all 20 episodes to season 16, hit the finale. I get home. I'm home for like 2 months, if that, and they asked me to come back again.
Which goes by like that. For the first month, you're just getting back into things.
You're getting back into things. My daughter was being born at the time. I'm moving. I'm trying to figure out what's like the next move, and then I get the phone call to come back again. And
what was that like?
It's so hard to say no. I kind of did though, to be honest. I'm just like, I'm exhausted. You saw what I just did. And then I found out that Needy was coming back, and I'm like, all right, cool. I got to do
this. That's like when someone writes a book and they're like, hey, can you talk for the book? And they're like, nah, I'm good. And they're like, yeah, but Jerry West talked for the book.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, if Jerry talked,
then I'll talk. And then
Nene was in, and then you were like,
Nene was in, I'm in, and then I found out who else was in. And I'm like, this is going to be a gauntlet. And it was.
Did you know it? Personally, did you know anybody else like Voltage? Have you cooked with Voltage before?
I have. One of the craziest stories about B Vault and Michael.
B Vault.
Yeah, man. Till this day, dude. Like so I'll try to abbreviate it, man. There was a time right before I moved to London that I found an opening at, or there was an opening at Vault, Brian Voltaggio's restaurant in Frederick, Maryland. I'm a New York City kid. I find my way to Frederick, Maryland, and I stage for the restaurant. Brian was working on a project in India at the time, so he wasn't at the restaurant, but I was offered the job via Brian from a phone call. The sous chefs told him how great I was doing, and then he offered me the job. And literally, as I'm kind of deliberating, or if deciding if I want to go, my cousin Evelyn in England just randomly threw it out there, like, how crazy would it be if you just did your master's in London?
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
How did you end up at Westminster in London?
That's where the crossroads happened. So like 2012, she's like, man, I tell her about the stage. I did really well. But she just threw it out there, happenstance. And I'm like, you know what, that would never happen. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, you know what, this is probably the best bet for me.
Yeah.
So when I made that decision, Brian Voltaggio offered me the job. And I'm like, Chef, with all due respect, I'm going to go to London and I'm going to study and get my master's. And he gave me all the blessing in the world. He offered me a job if I ever come back. And then fast forward, Top Chef season 16, there's a mentor episode towards the end. And, right before they do the casting of the show, they ask you, like, who's the people that you watch, you admire, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, man, season 6 was it for me. I love the Voltaggio brothers. Brian's just like I have their book. I read Vault like back and forth. Still to this day, probably my favorite cookbook of all time. And I said Brian Voltaggio. So Brian Voltaggio then becomes my mentor on that episode, which was wild to me because it was kind of like that, full circle moment. But then the season after is when we do All Stars. And now I'm going against Brian Voltaggio in this instance. We're living in the same room. By the way, it was like Kevin was there. It was me, Kev, and Brian in the same room. And now I'm really getting a full download of not only the chef, but the man, the father, the pilot. He's a pilot, dude. Like he's like so interesting. His mind, the way his mind works. And it was really kind of that moment we talked about even before. Like I made it. Like, dude, I'm rather than reading about him and watching him on TV, I'm going against him in these challenges now. Yeah, and he's got to look out for me. It's wild.
I love that season 6, 16 and 17 that you were a part of.
Yeah.
I think for me, Top Chef, we're about the same age.
Yeah.
I think we fell in love with the show around the same time. We were both in college.
Yep.
Season 6 was, season 2 was it. Marcel was season 2, and that would think it was like 2006, 2007.
That was also Padma's first season too.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's when like it was more drama, right? It was more like the shit that went down in that episode, that season, of course. But the idea of like a long narrative arc, that you're learning about these chefs, their personalities, and what it takes to be a great chef. I was hooked.
Yeah,
I was hooked. And then season 6 comes along,
Jeez.
and I'm like, this is like the '96 Bulls. Like
yes.
they're like unbelievable.
Yes. Absolutely.
Like
man.
the talent on that season with Gillespie,
JC, Jen
JC,
Carroll, the Voltaggio brothers, man, just
they were like going. I mean, boom, boom, boom,
hits
boom,
after hits after hits.
So now that like I've been to Top Chef events, like I went to Restaurant Wars. Your season,
You were in season? Seriously?
16.
No effing way.
I was in Lexington for Restaurant Wars, and I was at Brian Young's restaurant.
No, you were not. You were at my restaurant. You went to Northwest?
Yes.
Northeast.
Northeast.
Get
yeah,
out
I was
of here.
there. Yeah.
What? I didn't know that.
But Brian was the
he
front
was
of
the
house.
maitre d'. Yeah, he was the GM. Are you kidding me?
So I ate your food.
Literally?
Yeah, it was.
I had the scallop.
Yeah, scallop. It was delicious.
Dude, I didn't know that.
The scallop. There was like this. It wasn't a terrine. It was a pork.
That was Brian's dish. He had like a roulade. It was the spinalis.
Yo, we were. So you remember Northeast? It was the last one, right?
Yeah.
So it was backed up. So
yes,
like
it was.
And we were waiting. So Kevin and I were like,
"Oh, this is."
It was hot. It was in this. I want to say it was in the summer, maybe.
Yes, sir.
It's taping.
Right in Kentucky.
And it was in this like airplane hangar.
Yes, it was.
And we were
dude,
like,
I had no idea.
we were eating snacks, and we were like, we don't know when we're gonna go. So they gave us like Lay's potato chips, and then they ran out of chips, and we're like starving because of course we're going on Top Chef Restaurant Wars. We're not eating all day.
Of course.
We're like we're making sure we're hungry, so we eat everything,
Absolutely.
right? But then they feed us these things, and then they're like, all right, we got some wine at the table. Well, they finally seat us, and they're like, we've got rosé all day. And we were like, keep filling it up because we are starving, and the food wasn't coming out because I was like, I think it got backed up because maybe the judges were backed up, but whatever it was, we were there for a long time.
There was a bottleneck in service. I forget specifically what happened, but yeah, you're right, where we were cooking food and then all of a sudden we weren't. And it was like, okay, this is bad. Because if we're not cooking food right now, somebody's not ordering food in the front. And then it's like, what's going on?
You're standing around like,
you're trying to figure out.
This is bad.
This is really, really bad. But then also we had the view of the other 3 kitchens as well. So we were all the way to the right. And then to the left, we had, it was Nini's kitchen, Justin's kitchen.
Right, because when we walked in, we saw the kitchens.
We're all the way to the far right.
You're the far right because that's where it was almost like room A, room B, room C.
Yes.
And I remember looking at the chefs, but I don't know who anyone is.
Correct.
But I know that like in 6 months, I'm going to be like, oh my God, I saw Eric Adjepong over there. Or, oh my God, I saw Brian Young over there.
Yeah.
Or, Sarah Bradley. They would become like household names to me. But at the time, like, I don't know who you are.
No. And that to me, like, is well, to even go back, like watching it, when we're not cooking and then I see the other 2 teams like at it, they're like cook. And we're kind of like idle hands and we don't even know what's going on.
You get inside your own head.
You get inside your own head, right? You have no idea what's going on, again, in the front. So now you start panicking. I remember, bro, oh my gosh. It was Brian's team. I truly thought by the middle of that, they won. The way they were cooking was so beautiful. It was like swan work. It was just like...
Wait, but you were on Brian's team.
No, excuse me. Brandon, excuse me. Brandon's team. Brandon's team. Brandon's team was in the middle. And I'm watching Brandon's team, and it's just like no wasted movements. They were cooking with just so much elegance and grace. And I'm like, we all were watching like, yeah, they won. They clearly won. And when we got the word that we won, it was kind of like, what? Like so much shock, you know what I mean? But that to me was like, even though I didn't win, obviously that season, that to me was like a highlight. Winning Restaurant Wars, you just, as a chef coming on on Top Chef, you want to make it to Restaurant Wars. You want to. And winning Restaurant Wars is also like an accolade that nobody can take from you. It's a massive deal. And we won, and I was just like, dude, that's something that's going to cement us. I don't know how, but it's going to cement us somehow.
It was so much fun.
A lot, yeah.
I mean, it was so much fun. We had, the food was amazing.
We met before we actually met.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I ate your food.
Yeah, that's wild.
Without knowing that this would ever happen.
That's wild.
I mean, talk about full circle is, Kevin, he went there with his partner, and my wife is from Louisville. So like the fact that the first Restaurant Wars I ever went to was Kentucky, where I got married, was it was so cool. And that's like amazing. I was at my wife's parents' house and then got in the car and drove to Restaurant Wars, which is wild. And it was just so cool to be with, my wife at the time, but also my wife at the time, still my wife. But the idea of, that's something I've watched for so long, and to be a part of it was so cool, and it hit so well. Like I saw Padma and Tom and Gail, we've met now, but like at the time it was like seeing, Michael Jordan or LeBron, and it was like, that's Padma right over there. Oh my, she's way taller than I thought she is, and like that whole experience was awesome. But you lived it. You were a contestant twice, and now you're doing the other side of the table, which is you're judging a lot of times on your show and hosting. And so you've seen, not just with Top Chef, but what goes into a food competition show that isn't Top Chef.
Totally.
I want to know, now that you've had some time to step back and look back on your years at Top Chef, what are some misconceptions that fans might not know about Top Chef or think they know about Top Chef?
Yeah.
But in reality, it's this. What are like the top three, or
top three, I would say, misconceptions. We have no access to the outside world for however long you're going to be on the show. They tell you right before you sign up and you sign all the papers and everything, and you get casted. If you make it all the way, it's going to be about a 2-month, obligation, and you don't have a cell phone, you don't have access to the outside world. You are a hermit, truly. We had like, it felt like, dude, the days that were off, they would give us like these DVDs and tapes or like board games just to kind of keep ourselves entertained. But it truly was like chef camp without any sort of like electronics or anything like that. So that's real deal. We were fully sequestered. We had this is the time, and it's sad, Anthony Bourdain had passed away as well.
Right, yeah.
During that season. And that was a very pivotal moment because they broke protocol and they actually allowed us to kind of get into the outside world and know about what was happening. Padma was clearly distraught about it. They were obviously friends. So we saw a little bit of like her out of character, out of like a little, she wasn't her.
Where in the season was
we were
that?
In Tennessee. We did the Music City Challenge. So this is when we went to the Grand Ole Opera in Tennessee, in Nashville.
Okay.
And we found out that he passed away, and then they kind of allowed us to
and that was the only break in the universe.
That was the only break in the universe. Yeah, that was it. And
everything else is just closed loop.
Everything is closed loop, man, and you have no idea. And they do it to keep you focused, but I mean, you can also get tons of information, like no recipes being shared. Somebody can email you something.
You're just writing recipes in your little notebook all season long, trying
100%.
to keep some sort of sanity.
When I got that book, literally the first thing I did was just write. Like you just want to get everything in your head on paper, because that's your Bible essentially, right? Because you don't have any sort of like anything else. So I would say that sequester is real deal. The rules were insane. Talk about like legal work. Every challenge, whether it be a quick fire or an elimination challenge, there's a set of rules that the
producers come out and they're like,
come out, they pause. I'm sure you've heard about this.
Yeah, T or someone else would come out and
T,
be
exactly.
Like,
yes, sir. Yeah. T was something come out, and they had legal, and it's like a thick piece of just like the do's and do nots of what this challenge is specifically. And I remember once, you sign, they record you, you have to raise your hand, say I do, I understand. Real talk, man. And it's like, it's a real like oath that you have to give that you fully understand what's going on. And then you cook. So if you break a rule, or if you do anything outside of that rule book, then you are eliminated, and you have to understand
because you've sworn in blood and hand up, like,
dude, yeah.
You understand.
You understand.
And are there times where people will be like, hold on, like I think I understand, but like let me just get this right.
If you're being strategic. So you use that to your advantage. It's kind of like tying your shoes in basketball when you are kind of like doing an inbound play.
Yeah.
If I'm asking questions about the rules, I'm also thinking about what I want to cook. It also means I'm probably not sure.
You're buying yourself time.
Buying yourself time, 100%. So I would sometimes be like, oh yeah, tell me a little bit more about this or whatever. And I'm like looking around, trying to figure out what produce I want to take or whatever. So you have to kind of, any sort of marginal edge in this sort of game, man, is something you have to use to your advantage. But I remember specifically Brandon, we did a rule, I forgot the challenge specifically, but it was one, he got eliminated in it because it was, you can't use anything. So when we come in, when we come into the show, they give us a box of 10 items that we can bring from our home personally, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
things that they may not have in their pantry or whatever the case is. Brandon had this really cool, beautiful like pepper mill. And the rule was you can't use anything in the box that they were giving you. And he had his pepper mill there. For whatever reason, I think it was just an absent-minded moment. He took the pepper mill out, used it, and got eliminated. Simple as that. Just pepper, black pepper.
I'm trying to remember. Was that public?
I think it was. It might have been.
Yeah.
It might have been. Yeah.
Because I remember he was in, and then it must have been like a DQ, like technicality.
DQ technicality, and it's real. So like folks really like ask, like, is that something legit? And I'm like, it's
and that's
real.
Never on camera. Is the whole like rules?
It's never on camera. It's the commercial.
It's Kristen coming out and Padma coming out, and it's like, all right, here's the challenge, and then cut to commercial.
And
then boom, you're ready to go. But there's so much time and legalese that you guys are going through,
then,
and you're taking an oath.
You're taking an oath.
You're taking an oath for every challenge, for quickfire and elimination challenge.
Every single challenge.
Because legally, like, you can't be like, actually, you guys didn't go over that.
Because there's money on the line too. Some challenges, you can win 10,000, 5,000, whatever the case is. Like, you want to be airtight about this. People can. This is livelihood right now. So if there's any sort of like gray area, then they have to like eliminate that.
Third thing, can I ask?
Sure.
Whole Foods.
That's real. People ask about that. I was actually going to bring that up organically, man. No pun intended.
That's good.
Dude, it was. It's real. There's real shoppers, real people. If you
it's not
staged. If you have, I want to work scallops in my dish, and there was a lady that's waiting online in front of you, and she orders all the scallops, then that's just what it is. And now you have to pivot. So like, you're not only going against the contestants, the other chefs, but you're going against like the field, the true field, which is wild. And it was insane. So I remember in LA, obviously you bump into like famous people all the time. I forgot his father. Beyonce's father was in Whole Foods. Literally, Beyonce's dad was in Whole Foods during one of the shops.
And you're like, I
want to say hi, but I'm like, I gotta get the scallops or whatever. So it's wild, man. Like it's as advertised. That is just it's a circus, man. It is.
It's a skill that I don't think watching we appreciate, because I've never had to do that. Like supermarket sweep, grocery games, like, you might see it on TV, but like racing around and then building your menu on the fly, there is a lot of stress that you can see where the chefs are like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
And because I wanted trout, but they're out of trout. Yeah. And now I gotta go to square one. And the stress of like seeing other people like running around. Oh, I know what this, I know. Oh, yep. I got my carrots and I got my lettuce. Like I got everything. And you're like doing a school project and everyone else is doing great. And you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do for the science project.
And you know what, man? If you stay on the show long enough, it's going to happen to you. It's going to happen. Whether you are very fully prepared and everything that you want is there, or like you just get hit in the mouth and you got to figure out what to do on the fly. And really, that's, again, when I said a third, like people get eliminated, that's that like random bit. But staying composed, not being married to a dish also helps. So I remember like after 3 or 4 shops, I'm like, okay, if I don't get this, I need to come up with other alternatives right now before the shop starts to make me just have a peace of mind to say, okay, if they don't have trout, they don't have a steak, then I have to go and make a pivot to something else that can still work. And that's sort of like just understanding of the shop and understanding how like it is. It definitely helps for sure. Yeah, I
mean, I think all of that. Yes, it's a sponsored segment with Whole Foods, and they do it every year because it's a partnership, right? But they might spend a couple minutes showing that shop, but for you guys, it might have been the most stressful thing of the whole show.
It's so difficult because it really makes or breaks. You can't shop again. There's no other shopping. So what you have is what you have, and even if you don't order enough the quantity, then you're cut.
I want to talk about that because in a larger context, as a viewer, I feel like Top Chef has gotten a little nice, a little soft.
Ooh.
Feeling like it used to be a little bit more competitive in the sense of like, I'm dog-eat-dog world of like, I'm sorry, but no, you can't have my shallots. So you can't go back and go get shallots, so you got to lean on someone else in the room.
Yeah.
Can I borrow your shallots, or can you help me with the pressure cooker?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
in years past, maybe this is me, old man yelling at clouds, and it actually wasn't like this, but I feel like it was sharper elbows early seasons, Top Chef. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to understand, is that a professional advantage? Or is that a reflection of like the celebrity chef fiefdom, or the celebrity chef world is so accessible now that like you've softened your elbows because you might need that person on TV one day, or you might want to be on that guy's show, or you might want to link up with her later in your career, or you follow each other on Instagram and you're liking each other's photos. And so I wonder, could Top Chef make it as fierce as it used to be, or as, I wouldn't say competitive, because like, bro,
it's competitive.
Bro, the restaurant world, or being a chef, is super competitive. It's a finite real estate, a finite number of people you can feed. And literally there's only so many places that you can open up in the country in those blocks. Mm-hmm. So I know you guys are competitive, but it does feel like Top Chef season 22 coming up.
Yeah.
It's not going to be an all-star season from what I can tell. Do you get the sense that like food competition TV is softer than it used to be, and why is that?
Man, I feel like there's so many ways to answer this question. I feel like Top Chef, with maybe like a lot of this sort of shows, like, you know, it's a microcosm of the time, you know, so you also have to factor in like the whole culture of like getting pans thrown at you and getting yelled at. And there was like almost a shift around like the early 2000s where it was just like, we don't have to do this. We don't have to be this way. And I think we saw that happening with the casting as well, where people are sort of adopting that mindset and folding it into the actual show. So now, like, yes, it's competitive to your point, but like there's, in my season specifically, there was a high level of integrity. In season 16, massive level of integrity. Even if I'm like, if I'm down, or if I'm behind, or sorry, if someone else is down or behind, I can go and help them, even though we're competing against each other.
What's the mentality there? Is it altruistic?
I want to beat you at your best. I want to beat you at your best. So I'm also not like adding to your, I'm not like helping you, but I'm packing something for you, or I'm like storing something for you. I'm not, maybe
you're making a level playing field.
I'm making it a level playing field.
So that you're not going to eliminate someone, or you're not going to beat someone based on like the saran wrap wasn't going around.
And also, it's not done every time. So it's not like we're all singing Kumbaya and, you know what I mean, trying to compete against each other.
I don't think the show would exist anymore.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. Absolutely not. So we still like are wanting to get at each other for sure. But with that said, like I remember season 17, All Stars, and at the shop, me and Leanne, we were going for the endive. I will never forget it, man. She was just like a woman determined to get that Belgian endive. And I was reaching for it, and she just forearm shivered me out the way. And I'm like, you know what, dude? You got this, chef. And so now to this day, like we laugh about this, Leanne and I, but like that really brought out like a little bit of that, like, I gotta win this. Like this is serious. I gotta take this money home. I gotta take this win home. And I love that. That's competitive nature. Yeah.
We talked about it on the show when you came on, I think when you got eliminated. So if you remember, we reached out to you in season 16.
Yeah. And
we were like, yo, we want to get you on after Restaurant Wars.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And you were like, let's do it, without us knowing that was it. Like right after we got you onto the show, it was the episode that you got eliminated. Mm-hmm. And you were so humble about it. You were great. You were a great sport about it all. You were willing to talk about everything. And I remember one of the things we had gotten on you for, whether it was 16 or 17, was that you were too nice. You weren't boxing out people trying to get to an ingredient.
I didn't. No.
And you're a big dude.
Yeah.
You're an athlete.
Yeah.
You could easily throw your weight around.
100%.
But you said the optics of like you boxing people out, especially women, was like not great.
It's not.
And also like you can make your impact in other ways.
100%. Yeah.
Do you think if you had less of a good heart, that you could gotten that endive a little quicker, or gotten that, scallop quicker, and, been like, you know what, I'm going to box you out?
It is, yes, for the objective to get what I wanted to get. But then, overall, there's just some things that are just not worth it to me.
On that note, the idea of you don't want to come off as a butthead.
Yeah.
I think Top Chef, no fault of their own. I think what Kevin and I have talked about is the stakes don't feel as big on Top Chef, that winning Top Chef doesn't matter as much as being on Top Chef, and that being on Top Chef is almost like you've made it, and everything after that, like you've become the launching pad of celebrity chefdom, all that, by just getting on Top Chef. Now, you're kind of a walking example of being on Top Chef and performing well and getting as far as you did, opened up some doors.
Yeah.
But can you speak to like the power of Top Chef and what it did for you? And do you think that winning Top Chef, how much ever money they throw at you, can they equal it out where like you got to win it?
Yeah.
You can't just show up and make it 4 episodes and then launch your career.
Sure. No, it's valid, man. You want to you go on Top Chef to be Top Chef. Like you want to win. But then also there's there's the humbling equalizer that you could be eliminated super early, and that actually could be a detriment to your career as well, right? So you gotta respect that other side of the fence as well, and kind of give it some weight to
There's
it.
real weight, not in winning it, but also weight in quickly just boom,
100%.
you're out.
Yeah, not in an instance like we talked about Joe, where he had a full season to kind of show his personality, his food, and his skill. And then on an all-star season, it's kind of understand that like somebody's going to go home first. One of these amazing chefs is going to go home first. But in an instance where everyone is a new cast, you're kind of introducing yourself to America for the first time. If you don't have the longevity, if you don't have that sort of runway to talk about your skill or show your skill rather and talk about yourself, then it's kind of like, why did you come on? You know what I mean? Like, why did I make it here? So Chef Edward Lee from Kentucky came to
610 Magnolia,
yes,
one of my favorite restaurants.
My guy, Succotash as well. Mentioned, for me in my season specifically, you don't have to win Top Chef to be Top Chef. And KBC, Kelsey Bernard Clark, won that season, and she's gone on to do phenomenal things. But I have as well, and I think it's all about taking advantage, of the opportunity. Not everybody also has the same objective. Not everybody wants to be on TV. Not everybody wants to kind of be the front facing. Some people are just really, really happy going back home, putting their head down and going to work. I think of Chef Adrian Wright, like in that regard. Adrian probably is the most happiest, peaceful, like out of all the Top Chef contestants. She's in Puerto Rico with her family, her beautiful family. They're living that like super peaceful, just like almost off the grid life. And like that is success to her, right? So like who am I to like say, that's not what you want to do. So I think at the end of the day, man, you take advantage of what you want to take advantage of. Obviously, the longer that you're on the show gives you the more sort of opportunity to kind of like put yourself out there.
Yeah. Is there, I mean, obviously money talks, but like if Top Chef like threw more money into the pile, would you see people be like more competitive? I don't know if I don't want people like tackling each other, like I don't want it to become like a wrestling or UFC out there, but I do wonder if there are ways, and they've made some tweaks here and there.
Yeah.
To make it more, I guess, raise the stakes and putting money behind quick fires rather than immunity. And I want to, on the way out here, I want to talk just what you are looking forward to in Pack Your Knives, because like this is different for you and for me.
Yeah.
Like this is a new chapter, but I'm gonna be fascinated to see through the prism that you watch Top Chef every episode and mine, because Kevin and I are both coming at this as fans.
Sure.
And yeah, we're journalists and we do our research and we do as much homework as we can about the history of things and get do our due diligence on things. But we ain't been in that kitchen. We ain't been at judge's table on the other side of judge's table too.
Yeah.
So what are you looking forward to?
Man, it's an awesome role, and I'm super excited. Again, I can never fill the shoes of Kevin, but I'm really, really excited to offer again that insight that's just super unique. It's almost that insider baseball sort of like look at the show. I'm really excited to just start cooking too. I think it'll be a fun opportunity to maybe like come up with a challenge or whatever that week's challenge is. Maybe kind of run off a riff at the restaurant, or you know what I mean, grabbing
someone gets eliminated on a mise en place or whatever, and it's like, all right, here's how
to fix that, or here's how to,
you got a bell pepper. Here's how you do it.
Here's how you do it, right? And I think I'll be able to kind of offer that in a really unique way.
I can't do that, by the way. I can't offer any of those tips.
But you do offer, to your point, man. Like, there's plenty of times where I'm across America and I meet fans who watch Top Chef, and I'm having these really great conversations. And I think you are the voice of the people in that regard, man. Like, you ask the questions that everyone asks me. So I think this sort of dynamic kind of gives people almost like a closer pull into, those conversations that they wish they could have with their favorite Top Chef.
And maybe Kevin and I would be a little too hard on some things, or I would be like chewing out a contestant about something, and you'll be like,
dude,
yo,
you have no idea what it takes to even do that. Like, yeah. So I'm gonna humble you.
Yeah. And I'm gonna challenge you too.
Please do,
if you are being too overly like pro chef, I will probably be like, nah, man.
No.
Like this, like they done screwed up, right?
You're right.
But that's what I'm looking forward to. Yeah, any sort of. I'm loving the idea of the recaps. So we're going to be doing recaps this season.
Yeah, man.
I would love if you can do some, video breakdowns or, showing you in the kitchen teaching.
Yeah.
I also will let the audience members know that our Substack, our Pack Your Knives site, is going to have multiple contributors to it. That isn't just going to be me. You're going to have other people from inside the Top Chef viewer world.
Yeah,
more to come on that.
That's awesome.
And we'll have more updates on the Substack, on our Instagram, and I'm just so pumped, Chef. I mean, when that moment happened where Kevin reached out to me this summer, it was a really sad day.
Yeah.
It was a real like fork in the road moment for me and the show. And then like the more I sat on it, I was like, there's I want to find my Kristen. Find someone that I can like rap with and talk about all these things. And it's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you, bro.
Very excited. And is there anything we didn't hit in this, first? And we're gonna do more of these before the season.
Yeah, we got a couple more to do before the season starts. But I think
Top Chef Canada, like any like quick thoughts on Canada and Canadian cuisine. I know Gail's gonna
go off. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. She's running
the season
point.
of Gail.
It's the season of Gail. She's running point here. Like, I was here when I was 3 years old or 5 years old. No, Gail's gonna be an amazing sort of contributor. She is, period, one of my favorite people in the world. But that she does so great. I love Gail.
Yeah.
But she's gonna really, really just go crazy for that. I'm excited to see the cultural sort of like influences. It's a melting pot just as much as it is in the States.
Yeah, you can spend a lot of time in Toronto.
Spend a lot of time in Toronto and get different food and things like that. So the cast. I want to see who's coming up, what they're doing, and then like every season, like what are they cooking? What's on your mind?
You're gonna do the draft with me, right?
Heck yeah, man. We have to, bro. We have to. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, we're gonna do a draft of the contestants after the first episode. We'll watch an episode.
Yep.
And I feel like you're gonna have a scouting advantage because you're gonna know some of these people probably.
Possibly. I might know a couple of people. But you know what? I think
it might give you a blind spot, as you might be like, I was in the same kitchen with, he was my sous chef back in the day, like that sort of thing. I might be like, oh, he's gonna take him number one.
You might,
or hey, she was in the same kitchen at the Michelin star restaurant. She's amazing. I might be like, all right, let him take. Yeah. I'm already mapping out my game theory.
You're trying to get in my head now.
Mm-hmm. So now you're going to be like, oh, he thinks I'm going to take this person because I was in the same kitchen. Hey, Chef Eric Adjepong, so excited for the future. Very excited to do this with you. And we're going to, it might not be in person every episode that we do this, but I am excited to riff with you several episodes before the season starts.
Totally.
We're going to do the preview and we're going to do all that fun stuff. So appreciate you. It's great to see you.
Good to see you.
And I know you got a jet, but hey, it's been great.
It's going to be an amazing season. Again, just so excited to be here with you. I love talking to you, period. But we can just like Jones out about food and Top Chef, man. It makes it all the better. So yeah.
Welcome to Pack Your Knives officially, and welcome to the Count the Dings fam. We're excited to have you, man.
Thank you, man.